with
Touchdown, Auburn!
the Alabama Crimson Tide.
Off to the inside, intercepted Alabama. Touchdown!
And everything college and high school sports. Now, let's join Andy, Brett, Randy, and Luke for this edition of Sports Blitz Live.
Hey everybody, and welcome into the Saturday Sports Countdown presented by JR Sports Bar and Grill and Sunshine Heating and Air. I got to get off the snide a little bit this morning, a little bit early turn around, but glad that you joined us here on the Saturday Sports Countdown for a couple of hours. It's Iron Bowl Saturday. Obviously, we'll be talking a lot about that, but high school football moves on into the semifinals after last night's scores, and we're going to break down those games and talk about those, and a lot to get through here in the next couple hours, Randy. We were at the Sportplex last night, an outstanding night for high school football in the quarterfinals. You want to be playing the week of Thanksgiving, and we were able to do that last night, and one of the better games in the state, I would think. We looked through the scores and saw all the results, and there were some good games, but there were also a lot of lopsided games last night, but there was not any, when you look at it from a standpoint of sitting on the edge of your seat, there wasn't sitting. There was a lot of standing last night. Everybody on the edge came down to a last-second field goal. Pike Road able to kick a 23-yard field goal to win and move on to the semifinals. They win it 31-28. It's a tough way to lose, tough way to end the season. You don't ever want to lose. It doesn't matter if you lose by 40 or you lose by 3. And but a tough, hard-fought win for Pike Road. We made some great plays toward the end of the game and felt like we were in a position to maybe win that game. And credit to Pike Road.
Yeah, really good game last night all the way around. I thought it was two teams that were evenly matched, and you had a sense that this one was going to come down to the end. I don't know that I thought either defensive unit was going to step up to the plate and stop the other offensive unit, but there in the second half, that was the name of the game. And, I thought the game was won with field position, special teams, and the ability for Malik Blockton. A player that I'm going to throw at you that we saw about 10 years ago here at the Sportplex that I thought we'd be able to control and we'd win that football game was Trey Williams. We played St. Paul's here in either the second or the third round in 2013. Second and we had a very good football team in 5A, a top 5 football team in 5A a majority of the year. Trey Williams comes to the Sportplex, I think, in the second round of the playoffs, and they end up winning the football game in overtime, but the name of the game for them was defense. We couldn't do anything offensively that we wanted to do, and he was the main reason for that. And I thought last night it was won. Look, Malik Blockton, even if he didn't make a play, he was in the backfield in a position to disrupt everything that we had going on. Gabe Benton made 3 or 4 unbelievable plays in the first half to get away from arms around him tackles by Malik Blockton being the majority of that. And Gabe made some plays, and Malcolm Simmons made some plays, and they kept us in the football game. But, for the most part, I tip my hat to both of those teams. They played their hearts out. Both teams really laid it on the line last night. It was a physical football game. It was a little scrappy there at times. What do you expect? There's a lot to play for, and you kind of expect to get those emotions to run high. But great game. Granger Shook in his first year at Pike Road. Wonderful job coaching that football game and getting them in position in the middle of the field to kick what was an extra point for the most part to win the game, and they were able to do it.
We talk about the first 5 minutes of the second half, and after the first 5 minutes of the second half, nobody ever brings it back up, especially when the game's over. I'm going to bring it back up. I said it coming out of halftime. I said, we get the football first, got an opportunity to set the tone, and you talk to most any coach out there, and they'll tell you how important the first 5 minutes of the second half is. And you want to talk about losing the first 5 minutes of the second half? We did. We went 3 and out, punt the football, and they go down and score in 3 plays. And so, we had a chance to come out and kind of set the tone coming out of the locker room, and we weren't able to do it. A lot had to do with what Pike Road did.
That's
and again,
right.
they were able to run the football and exploit something there on that first drive and score. But look, the game was still it was still 28-20 at that point, and so you had an opportunity to come down and do what you needed to do, and we struggled in special teams a little bit again last night, and but we were able to get those points back with a safety in the game, and so things kind of worked out. We were only down 6. We had opportunities there. It was just a one-possession game pretty much the whole night for either team. Didn't matter who was ahead. So you come down and you drive. What a great drive. In championship football, in playoff football, when you put a drive together like we did with 9 minutes to go in the game and get it down to around 5 minutes and punch the football in the way we did, we seized all the momentum, and it felt like, hey, you know what? We've tied this football game up. If we can come back out on defense and do what we've been doing all the second half, you got to like our chances. And our defense came out and did exactly what we thought they could do. They stopped them, made them have to punt the football again. We get the ball with about 3 minutes to go, and it's
the same thing that was the nemesis all night.
Right.
Couldn't block them.
And we talked about it on the air. If you're not chasing points in a couple of places, and you're up a point or 2 points at that point, you're calling that game different with 3 minutes. Pike Road's got 3 timeouts. You're running the football at that point. You're not probably throwing it at all. You're up, so you're approaching it different. You're making them burn their timeouts, and then you're just going to punt the football back to them, and it's probably going to come down to you stopping them one more time. But we had to be aggressive, trying to make plays, and again, credit Pike Road, knowing that we were going to have to throw the football to move it with about 3 minutes to go, and it was a disastrous set of circumstances. An intentional grounding that Gabe had no chance on, and then another false start. And then we end up punting from the back line of our own end zone, and Malcolm gets a good punt off, gets it to the 40, no return. So, it was best case scenario at that point. But, the thing that you can't overlook is 15 penalties. To really have a chance to win that game in the third round, committing 15 penalties.
All earned, too.
Really is remarkable, because normally when you look down on a sheet and you've had 15 penalties and the other team, I don't know how many Pike Road had, 4 or 5 maybe, but if you look down on that sheet and you've had that big a discrepancy in penalties, usually you're going to lose by 2 or 3 scores.
Well, and it wasn't one where you could sit there and go, I felt like one was getting hosed and the other wasn't. I think we earned all of our penalties. I thought the officiating crew did a good job when it came to that. There were some questionable calls, but there always are questionable calls depending on what side of the game that you're on there in that one. But for the most part, I thought we earned all of our penalties, and it's unfortunate. And, as you're talking, the one thing that's going through my mind is on that one drive that we're able to go down in the second half and score, our offensive line played so well. Really got after them. We ran the football. We only had to throw it a few times. They played physical. And it made me think, not always things going to go in your favor. And right. I'm kind of in that state of my life with my son sitting out here in the lobby right now. So I'm thinking about that. And I've had this conversation with him lately, Brett, is that, the easiest way not to miss a shot
is not to
don't play.
Just don't be
the easiest way to not miss an extra point, just don't play.
That's
the
right.
easiest way to not miss a block on Malik Blockton that allows him to get back there in the backfield and make a play when they needed it, just don't play. It's real simple. And then, the ones that are on the sideline that aren't in the arena, the old Teddy Roosevelt thought, those are the ones that will always sit there and they'll chirp and they'll say what you should have done. But for the most part, I'm proud of our kids. They played physical, and I thought you said it exactly right. The ability to go down and score that touchdown in the second half when you had to said a lot about our kids, Brett, because we were struggling throwing the football. Just couldn't give Gabe enough time. Right. It wasn't Gabe was struggling. The plays that were made, he made last night. Right. They weren't just him sitting
Pike
back
Road
there.
Just dialed up great defense.
Well,
that's all you can say.
They had a great player in Auburn University.
Showed up.
Auburn University had Trey Williams, and he ends up being a good.
Have Malik Blockton
and that's my point. The two players, and look, it could have been Alabama commits, because if either of those kids would have had a committable offer to Alabama, I bet they may end up there. But my point is, the two best players on the field last night were the Division I guys. Malcolm Simmons was a man amongst boys even last night.
Yeah,
you could see it out.
Did he have 3?
He had 3 touchdowns. He had 136 yards receiving in the first half on 5 catches and 2 touchdowns. Had another in the second half. Had a 55-yard kickoff return that gave us an opportunity in the second half. You could see it out there on the field. And then one. Look, I don't know who you're going to pull off that sideline to go out there and block him when he decides he's going to play his best football.
Right.
And talking to the assistant coaches after the game, that was what one said to me. He's like, look, we didn't see Blockton play like that on film. We knew he's great.
Yeah, right.
But he played at a different level last night. And, Brett, he had to. If he didn't play like that, we win that football game by 2 touchdowns.
I think so. I think he was by far the difference maker. Pike Road will move on to the semifinals, and we say it tongue in cheek, good luck. Seriously, they're gonna need that, and a couple dump trucks.
We would have needed it too.
Well, we would. I mean, I'm gonna bring up something on our show because this is more of a talk about different situations. We talk about different things on this show regarding high school football. And Randy, the thing with Gulf Shores and Saraland the last couple of years, and it hadn't just been those 2 schools, but every school we've talked to, every group, we talked to some of Pike Road's people last night in the press box and all, and they look that way too. I mean, they go, well, here we go, traipsing off down south. And, it's sad that, you get into the playoffs, and really the mentality since week 1 has been like, well, I think we got a good shot until we get to whatever. And I know you play the games on the field, but everybody feels that way. And, it's not a secret. I had somebody, and in the Gulf Shores thing kind of had, I guess it's played out now, but had somebody send me a screenshot of their entire starting lineup. And 2 years ago, they didn't have a single one of those kids on their team. I mean,
let me jump in real quick. Here's the deal. When you live in a community around Mobile, and you live in a community around Birmingham and Pike Road, when you live in a community close to Montgomery, you're so close to so many athletes, Brett, that move around.
Oh, yeah.
And look, when you get, let's just say.
But for Gulf Shores, that's not the case.
Well,
you're getting kids from all over.
Well, but it's also, you got to bring them in like Seaborn and Tuatungavailoa and that clan. You got to have a place for the families to come in and work to make it a reasonable move. And look, you can spin it, and you can say that they're doing something that they shouldn't be. But at the end of the day, when you're in those big communities, and let's say what we've got right here. We know how great Malcolm Simmons was. If we're sitting in Birmingham with Malcolm Simmons on the team, do you think he doesn't go out and get 3 or 4 of his buddies to come play football with him?
Oh, I mean, yeah.
And I think that's what's happening at Thompson. I'm going to throw some names out there if you want me to help you. I think that's what's happening at Thompson. I think it's definitely what happened at Saraland with Ryan Williams. You got some other dudes that want to go over there and be part of that dude because he is maybe the dude of all of them here in the state of Alabama. And then you look down there at Gulf Shores, the same thing. You got Ronnie Royal to come down, and he ends up from, where was he coming from? Alexandria. And then he ends up down there, and then you got something. You got some to build around. And I don't like it. I don't like it any more than everyone else out there. But name me a great football team outside of Fife and Central Clay and some of these rural communities and these smaller schools that aren't doing it. Do you think any of them aren't in these larger classifications?
I don't know. I mean, you'd have to dig around, and again, that's the thing with, it's a tough pill for the AHSAA because.
What do they do?
Well, they don't. It's what I'm getting to.
And
they don't have a play. But what I'm saying is that this didn't mean to go in that direction. What I'm saying is it's the field that everybody that we've talked to, really in 6A this year that we played, knowing that you're gonna have to go through that juggernaut, and they beat a Hillcrest. I'm not sure Hillcrest did it, but Hillcrest, good football team, undefeated. Hadn't had a close game all year, and they really go down there. And I know the score was by 10, but it really wasn't that close. And Saraland controlled that pretty easily. But they controlled the team. They were up 17 with late in that game with a team that really hadn't had a close game. So it's not sour grapes. It's just stating facts, and it's exactly why there was an investigation that went on with Gulf Shores. and a lot of documentation and all, and I guess they decided that was different. I understand what you're saying when you live 2 streets over and you got dividing school districts and you can make easy moves. I understand that part, but there are things that need to be looked at, and as long as teams make bona fide moves and as long as players move in to communities, that's the way to do it.
Gosh, look at Thompson. I mean, I don't know what went on there, but Thompson's got a 4-star defensive end that in the middle of the season it moves over from.
You tell me.
I don't have an answer for it, and also, but there's rules that are out there, and if it's a bona fide move,
as long as rules are being followed, that's fine. I mean, it is.
Now, is there gray area in all of this? Sure, there is. The one thing I think we're all going to miss this year, and I may be wrong, but you already seen Clay Chalk will beat Thompson.
Right.
I'd love to see Saraland play whoever wins that 7A game. Could you imagine Saraland playing Phoenix City this year?
Yeah, not going to see it, but it'd be great.
I'm saying it's one of those years where I think 6A could match up to 7A.
Saraland is the #1 team according to the power rankings. So if you look at the power rankings, they're 1, Phoenix City's 2.
Well, I talked to Rick Cleveland last night, and he said he thinks Saraland's got the best defense in the state.
Well, obviously so. I mean, they haven't had a close football game, man. I mean, and yes, Jeff Kelly's done a great job. They've dipped into Mississippi and gotten some players, and they've done whatever they've got to do. And they were, it was speculation about them last year. And again, I'm just bringing that up because that's what is being reported through the media. This is not something Brett and Randy are bringing up. That's something that is, and again, I don't know when Ronnie Royal moves from Alexandria to Gulf Shores. I don't know his family. I don't know him. I don't know the situation. But, it's not like he went from Anniston to Oxford. You know what I mean? It's not like a kid moved from Davil to Alex City or vice versa. There's some things that have changed in high school football. They've changed in college football.
Hey, they're about to change. You allow NIL to happen, which is happening at 2/3 of the rest of the states.
I'm not sure that in certain ways, it's not already happening.
But it's always happened.
Oh, of course it has.
I mean, anybody maybe not to the extent with social media where you can communicate it.
Right.
But clearly, I can assure you, in 1988, when Viger went 15-0. That there was a whole bunch of kids in Mobile that said, I'm not about to let them beat my brains in. I'm one of the top players, and I'm going to find my way over there to be with them. And you can't – and, look, I may be totally wrong by saying that, but I'll bet you anything if you went back and you looked at it, because I know a lot of those great teams during that stretch were getting players from other places.
Right, and I think that Pike Road and Benjamin Russell were even. Obviously, it played out that way. I felt like it going into the game last night. And let's just be honest. I mean, it's going to take some monumental effort to keep it within 4 touchdowns next Friday. I mean, it is what it is. And that's what I'm saying, is you got a great football team. Pike Road's got a great football team. We saw them with our own eyes. They got good players. And they're going to take their team down there. And unless Saraland fumbles the football 5 or 6 times, it's probably going to be a blowout. And I don't know who Saraland will play in the championship. They'll play a good Parker team or a good Clay Chalkville team would be one of those two is going to make it out of the North. They'll play each other. And then I don't know what the situation will be in that matchup. I mean, Clay Chalkville's good, but really it's Jalen Mbakwe,
Yeah, but they're physical. Look, the reason Clay Chalk will beat Thompson, yes, because they got it. But you can't just snap it to him and not have somebody block him. Bro.
But I talked to.
They were good on line.
Yeah, but I did talk to a couple of coaches, and they said, man, up there at Clay Chalkville, and he said, look, the thing about Jalen Mbakwe is he didn't throw it very well. We are kind of one-dimensional in that facet. But when you got a player that dynamic that can actually get out there, and I watched that game, and Jalen Mbakwe, again, like a Malcolm Simmons, made some plays that most kids, and I'd say 99% of kids can't make, that extended plays against a good and Thompson made some mistakes.
You see their lines of scrimmage, Joe?
I did. They got a good lineman. They got a good tackle.
A lot of them.
Well, the tackle's the main one. But for the most part, it was Jalen Mbakwe scoring 5 touchdowns. Mm-hmm. And a lot of it was, individual effort out on the corners and out in space. Yeah. Good player, man.
Yeah, they're talented.
Oh, they are talented. I mean, they're where they are for a reason. So, but they'll match up with Parker in the semifinal.
They're talented defensively too,
and that's the team that knocked them out last year, 7-6 in the first round. So, up against the first break of the show. Stay tuned. More of the Saturday Sports Countdown right after this.
Sportz Auto Sales, Highway 280 in Kellyton, Alabama, is home-owned and home-operated. If you're looking for tires, they have it. If you're looking for a vehicle, they have them. Great selection. Always out looking for more just for you, the customer. And if you're looking for service, whether you buy the vehicle from them or whether you buy the vehicle somewhere else, they do service work and got a great crew there. Keep us in mind. Don't you go by Sportz Auto Sales on Highway 280 in Kellyton today.
What's the verdict?
Can't fix your heat pump. Need a new one.
Uh-oh. What are you thinking?
I'm thinking Daikin.
Call on Kevin Kill in Sunshine Heating and Air at 256-825-4849, Central Alabama's premier Daikin dealer.
So what's he thinking?
Oh, he's thinking Daikin.
Daikin, one of the top selling in the world.
Now I'm thinking Daikin.
Daikin. Comfort for life.
Russell Do-It Center and building supply stores have the tools and materials to get the job done right, whether you're a professional contractor or just a weekend do-it-yourselfer. With everyday customer conveniences like a drive-through lumberyard, price match promise, and our Best Rewards program, each of our 9 locations offer top brands and building materials like lumber, hardware, tools, paint, lawn and garden, and much more. Visit today and see what Russell Do-It Center and Building Supply can help you build tomorrow.
The Eric McKinley team at Mortgage Pro continues to excel in making sure our clients have a smooth and pleasant experience with home financing needs. Families are struggling to make ends meet due to price increases and high interest rates on credit cards. Monthly debt can cripple a family from enjoying the special times in life. Property values are holding strong, and now is the time to take advantage of the equity in your home, saving hundreds of dollars a month. No money out of pocket and no payment until January 2024. Call the Eric McKinley team at Mortgage Pro today.
I'm Karen Chanel, your State Farm agent in Alexander City, Alabama, and the greater Lake Martin area. I want to talk to you a little bit today about your discounts. How many of you are entitled to discounts that you may or may not be receiving? One of the easiest discounts on your homeowner's insurance is that of having a fire extinguisher. Coupled with a deadbolt lock and a smoke alarm, that gives you an automatic discount on your homeowner's policy.
Hi, this is Brian Bice with Bice Motors. With our all-star lineup of Dodge trucks, Jeep, SUVs, and Chrysler cars, we offer the area a team dedicated to making your next vehicle purchase a positive experience. Our sales team offers competitive pricing, and we back up all sales with a service department second to none. Bice Motors also offers the area's best selection of pre-owned vehicles. Visit Bice Motors at 2133 Cherokee Road in Alexander City.
Guaranteed lowest price. Buy it at Bice. Bice Motors.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Saturday Sports Countdown presented by JR Sports Bar and Grill. Sunshine Heating and Air. You can call us 256-234-6221 to be part of the program. You can comment away on Facebook Live there. We'd love to hear from you out there. We'll start and run down the scores from last night. Some good football games, but some not so good football games as well. And that's what you get this time of year, some matchup issues, even though you've had matching up two really good teams. Sometimes it just doesn't work out. We'll start in 1A in the South, and Leroy remains undefeated. They knock off a good Brantley team 40-18. Elba continues to roll. They win over Maplesville 49-14. So not a close one there in the South. In 1A in the North, Coosa Christian 8-5, but 4 forfeits. Inch into the playoffs in the 4 seed. They destroy Hackleburg, who's 11-2, 63-13. And Pickens County comes from behind to knock off Wadley, 18-14, ending Wadley's season at 11-2. Wadley had a phenomenal year. We thought that they might get to that Coosa Christian matchup, but they fall a game short. And Pickens County, man, they always put a good product.
Yeah, just about every year they play a physical brand of football, and they're used to winning. But there's matchups up and down all of these that you would want to go and watch. So if you're in those communities, if I leave you out, I'm sorry, but my gosh, Elba at Leroy in 1A in the semifinals.
Don't get much better.
Doesn't get much better than that. You've got the A-Train at running back for Elba that if he only gets 350 on a Friday night, it's a down night. I mean, he is a man amongst boys out there playing, and then you've got a defending state champion and a program and a community in Leroy that expects to win. If I were in South Alabama, I'd be at that ball game next week.
No doubt. And we'll run down all those matchups here, too, when we get done going through these scores. And you move over to 2A. And we've been watching 2A all year. We knew that it was going to come down to probably 3 or 4 teams, and they're still there. B.B. Comer knocks off Clark County last night, 43-22, and Reeltown knocks off Cottonwood, 41-22, and those two will match up in the South. We felt like that was going to happen. It was a collision course, the way those two teams have played all year, and they'll have a shot at each other. They'll be able to play each other next Friday, and they'll play the winner of that game will play either Pisgah or Fife. Pisgah knocks off Tuscaloosa County 36-29, and Fife with a massive win over a Locust Fort team that only lost one game, 63-33. Here comes that Fife train, as we've mentioned. They just the trophy goes through Fife until somebody proves different. Now, B.B. Comer is one game away from getting back. They said in all season that that was their mission with this team. They felt like they could have won the game last year. They felt like the moment was maybe a little bit too big for their program at that time. But those guys have been focused, Randy. They've navigated an undefeated season, but they're going to have a tough task taking on Reeltown. Now, they'll get Reeltown at their place, but it's going to be a tough football game.
It's going to be an even-Steven football game. Both have tremendous running backs. Both play physical football. I've always bragged on Reeltown around here. They're just a community that's obsessed with football, and they got great athletes up and down, and they got a system that they've always put in play, and I think they're now able to throw the football around a little bit.
They can.
Matt Johnson does a tremendous job at Reeltown, and another one here close by us. I bet there'll be a lot of people over in Sylacauga to watch that B.B. Comer game.
Oh, man, be a huge turnout. Again, like you said, if you don't have a team and you got a game close to you, man, make the trip. It's always fun to watch semifinal football. We're going to go ahead and take another break. We come back, we'll continue to run down scores from throughout last night, and then again recap what you'll have coming up this coming Friday in the semifinals. Stay tuned. More Saturday Sports Countdown right after this.
Hillaby Towers is an affordable senior citizens community located in Alexander City on Highway 22 East. Spacious one-bedrooms are available now. Great location, peaceful setting, comfortable living where pets are allowed and utilities are included. Call today to find out more information on Alexander City's best-kept secret, 256-329-0552. That's Hillaby Towers in Alexander City.
Sign Source is your local vendor for commercial and residential sign manufacturing and installation. We offer all kinds of lighted and non-lighted signage, from retail signs, LED message centers, event banners, vehicle wraps, the whole spectrum. We also offer service and repair on existing signs, as well as retrofitting to LED or installation of outsourced signage. We have the knowledge necessary to fulfill all of your signage needs in the short or long term. Visit signsourcenow.com to get started.
Satterfield Outdoor Living is Lake Martin's trusted friend for your outdoor land and leisure needs. We're the region's authorized Skag mower dealer for residential and commercial lawns and offer all the small engine accessories you need with top lines of Steel, Echo, Shindawa, Husqvarna, and Metabo products that can tame any landscape. Satterfield is also your grill headquarters with Big Green Egg Grill, and our pros service everything in-house and back up all sales. Get the Satterfield Outdoor difference on Highway 280 right across from Tallapoosa Ford.
You want the best opportunity to be successful in life. You deserve that opportunity. Well, you just happens to be in our motto, central to you, central to your success. Your future is right now. Don't wait. Make your dreams a reality by enrolling at Central Alabama Community College. Register today at cacc.edu
Alex City Internal Medicine and Nephrology and Weight Loss Center provides optimum care for the whole person. Dr. Dimo Popov specializes in the prevention and diagnosis of high blood pressure, kidney disease, diabetes, and acute and chronic conditions. Our weight loss clinic offers lipo shots and a guide to healthy weight loss. Alex City Internal Medicine and Nephrology and Weight Loss Center, where lifestyle changes are made.
Black Friday deals are here all month long at Opelika Ford. Get 3.9% for 60 months on all new 2023 Ford F-150s or 1.9% for 60 months on 2023 Ford Edges. Only at Opelika Ford. Black Friday deals are here all month long at Opelika CDJR. Get 2.9% financing for 72 months on new Ram 1500 or 15% off MSRP on new Jeep Compass. Only at Opelika CDJR.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Saturday Sports Countdown presented by JR Sports Bar and Grill and Sunshine Heating and Air. We'll dive into 3A results from last night. Mobile Christian has just been a very, very good program the last several years. They move on. They knock off Trinity 42-21 in St. James. Defending 3A champs knock off Thomasville 28-26, and that's on the south side. And in the north, Geraldine over Lauderdale County 55-20. That Geraldine team's the only loss for Fife this year, so that was out of classification for Fife. Madison Academy, we saw them a couple of years ago here in a jamboree. Had a lot of young kids. We saw a lot of great players on the field here at the Sportplex, and they knock off Sylvania 35-28 to keep their undefeated season going. So not surprised to see Geraldine and Madison Academy, Mobile Christian and St. James still left there.
It doesn't mean that they aren't good in some other classifications, but 3A is the private school classification. You know, the really not very large Briarwood, McGill-Tulane type private schools usually end up right there in that 3A classification, and 3 of your 4 that have made it into the semifinals, all private schools here in the state.
Moving on to 4A, man, what a story for Booker T. Washington. Man, they are in the semifinals. They knock off. A lot of people had this team pegged maybe to win the 4A championship this year. Jackson, they knock them off 20-17, and you know that's a Booker T team with Joe Phillips, one of the top players in the Southeast, not just in the state but in the Southeast. It was committed to Georgia, and a lot of people felt like you know, here close to Auburn, could he freeze and that group flip him, and he flipped several months ago, and is. You see why. I mean, I know it's not just him, but, man, he is a major part of it on defense. Plays a lot of Wildcat quarterback for them as well.
Yeah, and they've also moved their speedster back there to quarterback.
Small kid.
And Jason Caldwell told us yesterday he's a 4-3 guy, and he's really tough to hem up. And Booker T getting the 20 points needed, and it's the first time actually they were in the second round of the playoffs. So now, you know, every round that they move forwards is history for Booker T.
They'll take on Montgomery Catholic, who seems to find their way to this position every year. I think this is 5 years, basically, getting to this point, whether they end up winning this game and moving on to a championship or getting knocked off. Montgomery Catholic still has the longest regular season winning streak currently right now going on. But, you know, they knock off Jacksonville 44-20. So that'll be a very, very good matchup between 2 good football teams there in the South. In 4A and in the North, you got Westminster Christian knocking off Brooks 48-27 and Cherokee County knocking off West Morgan 28-27. I don't want to diminish either of those teams, but, man, I'll tell you, right now with Montgomery Catholic and the way Booker T's playing, and you got to like your chances. If you get out of that game and make it to Tuscaloosa, you got to feel good about yourself.
Yeah, I've seen the synopsis come across from Ron Ingram and the staff, and Cherokee County's got a running back that's got to have closing in on 3,000 yards rushing. I mean, it's every week he's got 270, 260.
He's a stud.
Conejo, I think, is his last name. And so Cherokee County is one of those programs when we first started. It seemed like they were there every year, playing for state championships, and they're 12-1. And that's a rabid community when it comes to high school football, and they're good up and down in all sports as well. So glad to see them back.
In 5A, Gulf Shores over Headland, 35-14. Eufaula moves on, a close game over Demopolis, 20-17. Both of those teams were 10-3 coming into the game. And then the North, Ramsey over Moody, 40-27. You know, Moody had a lead several times in that game early, and we looked at it, I think, midway through the third quarter, and it was still really close. So Ramsey able to end up pulling away, obviously, late in that game to knock off Moody. And then Guntersville comes from behind and knocks off Pleasant Grove. And we know what kind of program Pleasant Grove has, and we know what they've been able to do the last several years, and we know what a good coach they have. But we also know about Guntersville. And Guntersville just puts together really, really good programs. Year after year after year, that community is thriving. They got a new high school that they're finishing up and completing, and they'll be in the semifinals against Ramsey.
You know, we see Guntersville and see some of those programs in the northern half of the state, and it's not just football. Football is always kind of king there, but the thing that you and I have grown to love about that part of the state also is how great they are in basketball. And it's not just boys basketball.
Right.
It's girls basketball up there. And they didn't win a state championship last year, but I think they had won a couple leading into that, and they do a great job. So it's just a great sports community when you got the fishing to keep you happy. And the other sports that are out there that are going on in Guntersville, it's just it's a thriving community right now.
It is. It's a beautiful place, too, up in that area of the state. Into 6A football, Saraland over Hillcrest Tuscaloosa last night, as we said, 31-21 ends Hillcrest undefeated season. Pike Road, as we mentioned, knocks off Benjamin Russell 31-28. And a last-second field goal there to move on. And then in North, Parker over Gadsden City, 35-20. You know, that Gadsden City team, we haven't talked a lot about them this year. And Gadsden City struggled the last several years, really putting together a winning program. And, you know, they moved down a couple years ago from 7A back down to 6A, and it's really helped them. They were a non-factor in 7A football.
Yeah, it's a tough place because of the region that they match up with and some of the great teams that they see. But Dre Kirkpatrick's son's part of this program, and he's had a great year. And, you know, again, we get these updates week to week, and they got 4 or 5 other players from an offensive standpoint that can make big plays for them. So a great year for Gadsden City, but these are all great matchups here. And, you know, tip your hat to Pike Road. They lose the first 2 games of the season, lose a 31-6 one in the second game of the season to Hillcrest Tuscaloosa. But to reel off 11 straight wins with a freshman quarterback, who I was very impressed with. First off, there were 2 freshmen out there that are going to be big-time SEC gets for a lot out there. One on Benjamin Russell and Caleb Spivey. Looked the part, played the part last night. What a great freshman year for Caleb Spivey. And then Cason Myers for Pike Road. We tried to make it tough on him, but he made some big plays with his arms to win that football game. And it's hard to look out there, Brett, and think, man, that's 14-year-old out there playing.
Like it.
No,
neither one of them do.
Good size.
Clay Chalville over Muscle Shoals, 44-27. That was a very good Muscle Shoals team. That was 11-0 coming into that game, and you know, fall to Clay Chalville, and Clay Chalville. It's what Drew Gilmer's been doing for the last 3 or 4 years up there at that program, and they'll face the team that knocked them off last year in the first round, 7-6. So Parker a lot better than they were last year. They had a losing record when they got into the playoffs, and you know, it's like Drew said. He said, "Man, not that we didn't take them serious, but they got a player back at the right time, and he caused problems for us, and." They'll have a chance at revenge. There'll be a good football game between those 2 programs.
I think both of those programs can play with the other side of the bracket because both of those programs, from a physicality standpoint, are not going to get pushed around on the lines of scrimmage. And you know, that's the issue with Saraland. Yeah, they got Ryan Williams. Yeah, they got Lacey back there at quarterback. But everything I hear about Saraland's how good they are up front on the defensive and offensive side. Those 2 programs right there, and I told you that at the start of the season. Parker can beat any of them. You got those Jeremiah Beemans and you got those type of defensive players. We've seen it over the years.
Oh, yeah.
I'll never forget Hueytown losing several years ago from a team down south, 19-3 in the semifinals with Jameis Winston at quarterback. We go, how in the world did anybody hold that Jameis Winston team? And then you and I ask around, it was like, well, heck, they couldn't block them. There was nothing they could do to block them. And
if you control the lines of scrimmage, you change the whole game. In Class 7A, Phoenix City over Mary Montgomery, 21-7, a historic year for Mary Montgomery Falls. But, man, it was 14-0 for forever. Mary Montgomery finally scores. But, man, the story, as you said, probably of all, is holding Central Phoenix City to 21.
I was about to say, how good Mary Montgomery if they had a defense to do what they did last week against Enterprise, because that was a very low-scoring game too, and able to pull off a win there late, and then to see what happened this week and holding down a Phoenix City squad that, always I think when I think of Auburn High School, I think of defense, don't you? I feel like they win a lot of games, kind of like Hoover back in the day, where, yes, some years they can have great offensive players, but for the most part, they're so good defensively. And this is a Phoenix City squad. Every time I looked up against Auburn, they had 40. I mean, it could have been second quarter, and they got 35 or 40 points. And so tip you hat, Mary Montgomery, really first year that they've had an undefeated season to this late in the season since 1965. And to play as well as they did once they got in the playoffs means maybe they can keep that thing going.
Yeah, they've got a good program, no doubt. Thompson over Hewitt-Trussville, 21-10. I know Hewitt-Trussville. Man, I tell you, they get there almost every year. And
great program.
And a great program to not win anything. I mean, it's got to be. I mean, you put Hewitt-Trussville in any other region, you put them in a situation to where they've won probably no telling how many region championships, because they've had as good, if not better, players either than Thompson, Hoover, all through the stretch. And, they got over the Hoover hump last week and really destroyed them. And Peyton Floyd and done a really good job. They run up against Thompson, and everybody felt like Thompson might be a little vulnerable this year. They're 11-1. And Thompson just figures out a way to get it done, man. I mean,
and that one loss was a beautiful game.
It was.
It wasn't that Thompson just laid over and let Clay Chalkville whoop them. It wasn't that way. Trent Seaborn made plays in that game to get Thompson back in it, and I'm amazed at how good quarterback play is right now. I really am. To see the number and the difference in quarterback play over the last 25 years is a thing of beauty. I know offenses have changed, Brett, but you and I growing up, we didn't see guys throw it all over the park like they do right now. And now you'd look down, they got 3,000 yards. Gabe Benton ends up with over 3,000 yards passing in his senior season. I think he ends up with 30 touchdowns passing and only 3 interceptions.
Wow.
And, it's crazy stats like that, but you almost come to expect it when you see these great players.
No doubt, no doubt. And that's the recap of everything in the quarterfinals. That was semifinal action for 7A last night. So that championship game set. Shocker. I think we predicted, back in July? Thompson and you expect them to be there. And, of course, Phoenix City, maybe, and it's hard to say this because Thompson's the 4-time defending state champ. Phoenix City may be the best team.
They'll have to play well. They'll have, because – as long as Seaborn's there at Thompson, over the next 4 years, they're going to have
the thing that has really shocked me, though, with Thompson the last few games is, and, of course, they're playing good defenses, they haven't been putting up a ton of points. It's been defense for them. Mm-hmm. And, obviously Phoenix City ran up on a really good defense in Mary Montgomery. They were only able to put up 21 points. So it's going to be a fun one. I mean, I think it's the right matchup. Of course, we've navigated 15 weeks, almost 15 weeks of football to this point, and it's the dust settles. It's who we thought would be
the two that you would expect to see.
Yep. I'm going to take a break. Stay tuned. More of the Saturday Sports Countdown right after this.
Whether it's Lake Martin, Lay Lake, or Logan Martin, boaters from all over the state of Alabama come to Alex City Marine, just off Highway 280 in Alexander City, Alabama, because it's worth the drive. With the best deals on unbeatable Suzuki outboards, Manitou and Landau Tritoons, and a great pre-owned inventory while they last. Alex City Marine is the pros the locals know. And no matter where you're from, when you're here, you're local to us. Alex City Marine, just off Highway 280 in Alexander City, Alabama. AlexCityMarine.com.
It's truck season. At Sarah Automotive. New Honda Ridgelines, $349 a month. Ford Rangers, $357 a month. Nissan Frontiers, $379 a month. And Chevrolet Silverados, $399 a month. At Sarah Automotive. Plus, you get a lifetime warranty, no charge, engine, powertrain, and more. It's truck season at Sarah Honda, Tony Sarah Ford, Sarah Nissan, and Sarah Chevrolet.
You don't have to ask who, what, or why. Who's Diner is the go-to place for breakfast, lunch, and dinner. Conveniently located at the corner of Highway 22 and 280 in Alex City, Who's Diner offers the best meals and the best deals in town. Try our fresh, made-from-scratch pancakes, chicken salad, Philly cheesesteak, or the Who Burger. It doesn't get any better than who? Who's Diner, of course, on the corner of Highway 22 and 280. Who's hungry? The same professionals you've trusted with your urgent care is now your primary health provider, Main Street Family Care. We provide annual physical exams as well as monitoring health conditions such as high blood pressure, diabetes, asthma, and more. All major insurances accepted, Medicaid, Medicare, and have self-pay options to accommodate everyone. See us in Alex City, just across from Walmart. Your care is our primary concern.
Main Street Family Urgent Care. Heal better, feel better fast.
Lay your best to rest. Call the best. Lewis Pest Control.
Lewis Pest Control is now serving Alexander City and the entire Lake Martin area. They've been family owned and operated for over 60 years. Whether it's residential, commercial, or industrial, Lewis has environmentally safe products for all your pest control needs. Lewis Pest Control.
Lay your best to rest. Call the best. Lewis Pest Control.
Let Riverbank and Trust open doors for you. Whether you're purchasing land, a lot by the lake, or building or buying a home, begin with Tallapoosa County's loan experts. They'll guide you through the entire process, providing local decision-making, prompt responses, and the best real estate loan solutions for your unique needs. And in most cases, Riverbank and Trust can close your loan in 30 days or less, and they'll walk by your side every step of the way. It's all just part of the Riverbank and Trust difference. We invite you to experience it for yourself.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Saturday Sports Countdown presented by JR Sports Bar and Grill and Sunshine Eating and Air. This will be a quick segment to try to catch up with what we've got going on, but we're about to dive into college football for the rest of the program. We'd love to hear from you, 256-234-6221, to be part of the program. You can also comment away on our Facebook page if you got something you'd like to add. I want to just kind of commend the crowd last night that showed up. It was a phenomenal atmosphere on both sides. Pike Road brought a massive crowd. We were packed out on our sides. There were a lot of people at that quarterfinal game, and it did disappoint. Those two teams laid it all out on the line for that game, and it was just a great night for high school football.
I'm proud for our kids. They got the opportunity to see a crowd like that, Brett, because in today's day and age, with the opportunity to sit there and watch it on TV and online and listen all over the place, sitting there on your phone, the decisions are made a lot of times to not make it to the stadium. And you and I have seen a major change in gates, especially across the way. The visitors' crowd was full last night. I can't tell you the last time I looked across the way from the press box and saw a full crowd across the way. Can you name it?
It's been a long time.
It's going to have been a playoff game at some point.
Back in 15 or
yeah.
I don't know.
It doesn't happen that often, and we had a massive crowd on our side. It was a thing of beauty.
Take a break. Stay tuned. More of the Saturday Sports Countdown right after this.
GillsOpelika.info. Get pre-approved in minutes online at GillsOpelika.info for a pre-owned car, truck, or SUV from Gills Auto Sales, 1430 Gateway Drive in Opelika.
The coast is here. Wharf Casual Seafood is serving up all your favorites: shrimp and grits, po' boys, tacos, seafood platters, and so much more. Don't miss out on our famous loaded fried green tomatoes. Wharf Casual Seafood is located on Highway 280 next to Regions Bank.
the Alabama Slammer. It's a popular drink at parties, but drink too many and you'll wind up in this Alabama Slammer. And if you drink and drive, get ready for a real Alabama Slammer. If you're involved in a crash where a driver's been drinking, you're 4 times more likely to die.
Drive safe, Alabama. A message from your Alabama Department of Transportation.
There's only one clear choice in the Lake Martin area for plumbing, heating, and air. That's All Clear Plumbing and Air. Our professionally trained technicians offer full service repair and installation on all major brands. From drips to water heaters, thermostats to entire air conditioning and heating systems, and everything in between. Our fast, reliable, and guaranteed top-notch customer service will keep you informed and up to speed through the entire process. Call us today or look for us on Facebook and Instagram at All Clear Plumbing and Air, 256-496-2056. License number 19172.
If you haven't been to Big B Barbecue in Alex City, then you're missing the best barbecue around. Big B has everything from the best pulled or chopped pork, chicken, and beef to cheeseburgers and grilled chicken salads. Bring your friends and family out for a great dinner and sit outside on our beautiful patio, or sit inside and enjoy your meal by the fireplace. So come in and join us and enjoy the best barbecue in the area only at Big B Barbecue, located on Highway 22 West in Alex City.
Hi, this is Brian Bice with Bice Motors. With our all-star lineup of Dodge trucks, Jeep, SUVs, and Chrysler cars, we offer the area team dedicated to making your next vehicle purchase a positive experience. Our sales team offers competitive pricing, and we back up all sales with a service department second to none. Bice Motors also offers the area's best selection of pre-owned vehicles. Visit Bice Motors at 2133 Cherokee Road in Alexander City.
Guaranteed lowest price. Buy it at Bice Motors.
I'm Jimmy Goree with Goree's Furniture. We would like to invite you to come shop our huge selection of furniture. But if you don't have time, we have over 2,000 items you can have shipped directly to your home. Go to GoreesFurniture.com, look for 48-hour quick ship. Shop, click, ship, it's just that easy. You can shop us here, or you can shop us online, only at Goree's Furniture.
Your expressway to saving.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Saturday Sports Countdown presented by JR Sports Bar and Grill and Sunshine Heating and Air. Again, I want to thank JR's and Sunshine Heating and Air for their long time support here on this program every Saturday morning for Lord knows when.
Well, look at us.
Yeah.
Look up there at that monitor. It'll about tell you just by the picture that you're seeing coming back from you how long it's been.
Yeah.
And mornings like this after last night in that cold weather with that open window up there, and you and I trying our best to scream out those plays because it was such a great football game, and so glad to be there and calling it. And but you could probably hear it in our voice a little bit this morning.
Yeah, it was. It's where you want to be. I mean, you want to be at that point calling a good football game, and we got that. You know, you can't complain. You never want to lose, but you know, tip of the hat to a great senior class for Benjamin Russell. They'll be missed. I ran down a majority of those guys last night as we closed out the broadcast. You know, you enjoy them while you have them. And I made a pact with myself back before the season. I said, no matter how far we go, I'm going to enjoy while we're in the moment. You know, I'll go back to that 15 season as we were kind of storming through, and, you know, we kind of were focused on winning the state championship and thinking that we were going to win one. Maybe I didn't stop and enjoy the moment as much as I needed to, and I go back, and then when the memories pop up and I'm able to look at those film clips, you know, really appreciate how great we were back then and what we were able to do that season. But I did. I soaked every game in this year. I don't have any regrets. I showed up to the field and made sure that, you know, I called the game like I've always done, but I took in and really appreciated how good we were offensively and how good of a group this was, a senior class on both sides of the football. So, yeah, I mean, we'll I look up at Tyree now walking in, around in the stands and on the sideline, and it feels like yesterday we were calling his name, and now he's moved on, and he's in education, and these young men will move on, and they'll go to college and they'll have careers, and we'll see them back one day in the stands, and several are going to go on to play college football, and we'll get to see them continue their career. But it was a fun group to call.
An outstanding job in the first 2 years for Smitty Grider. I really can't say enough good things about Coach Grider. When you come to a community like ours, and there's some others around the state, and you sit there right on the line, and we've always been on the line, and very seldom, unfortunately for us, Brett, where we're on the top half of that line. For the most part, mine and your whole life, we've always been at the bottom end of a classification. So you count your blessings. You really do. It's the old Malcolm Gladwell outliers deal. When you've got all of the pieces in place and everything's in your favor from an age standpoint, maybe around, or even an enrollment standpoint right now. And I'm not trying to give an excuse, but then you put a product out there on the field that can go to the quarterfinals and lose on a last-second field goal like that, man, you need to really say, how good do we have it? Really, what more can you expect?
I'll say this, and it's not that other programs aren't appreciative, but we know year in and year out, if you're Thompson or Phoenix City, and Phoenix City doesn't have a lot of state titles to boost. I mean, to boast about. I mean, they've
just two?
Just got two.
Yeah.
In school history now, but every single year they roll into the year going, well, go ahead and punch the ticket to at least the semifinal.
Yeah.
If Lord knows if they were not to make the playoffs, there might be a black hole just come up and suck the community down. They'd just be in shock. But that, again, that's not what we do here at Benjamin Russell, because we know that's unrealistic, that every so often we're going to have a chance to make a run. And in those between years, we're going to have a lot of great kids come through the program that keeps the program going. They're going to grind out. They're going to fight as hard as the teams that have a chance to make a run. But, you're trying to fill holes and pieces. And a lot of communities around this state and around this country are the same way. You're going to have shots every once in a while. Look at B.B. Comer right now.
Boy, they're the epitome of that.
I mean, right.
They are. They have been, a program that may win 2 or 3 games a year. Now, when I was in high school, they went 14-1, and they lost a close one.
Long time ago.
That's a long time ago. It does. And you've got to embrace those opportunities that you get. And back to your point a few segments ago, and maybe I'll add a little bit more than you on this one, is we're not in a community where you've got, a big community 15 miles down the road where you can pull some players. There's not enough. Where are you going to pull?
That's kind of where I was going with Phoenix City and Thompson. I mean, they know that because they know there's always going to be
people going to find their way to that program.
A lot of opportunities to pull kids from within your school. I mean, even without moving somebody in.
Yeah, true.
I mean, you don't have to move anybody into Phoenix City. Now, I mean, they just have that, and they've been doing that since you and I were in high school. So that's not going to change. Thompson, now that they've got Hoover. Now, I know Hoover's down a little bit right now, but Hoover's going to get it back. They've got enough guys walking through the halls and enough in the standard that they'd set. I mean, they expect to be in the semifinals.
I think I saw the number, by the way, that Hoover's going to have the largest school in the state again next year. Auburn's going to be second in the state from an enrollment standpoint, but Hoover will be back to the top school.
How do you not expect to be there? If you got the right coach and you got the right culture in your program, your expectation, you don't worry about, well, we got to take advantage of this year because all the pieces have aligned. That's what we're talking about. That's what you brought up. You have to take advantage in communities like ours when everything kind of lines up, and it puts added pressure. Again, I'm not saying that you don't have pressure every year and teams aren't under pressure, but we know, this has been our best chance since 2015. To make a run. And we knew that going into the season. We knew last year was kind of a foundation building block. We got back to the playoffs, won 8 football games, had a great year. But we knew all these guys, majority of them were coming back, save a couple. And we were going to have the nucleus of this team that went 8-3 last year. We were like, man, we got a chance to win the region next year. And guess what we did? We won the region. But it's like you said, it's been 10 years since we won a region.
Yeah.
So the ebbs and flows. And next year, you just said it off the air, we're going to win games, a lot of games over the next several years, but it'll probably be in a different way. It'll probably be, winning more games on defense. Now, again, we've still got tremendous playmakers on offense. That's not a cut on anybody coming back. But you are going to lose a Malcolm Simmons and a Gabe Benton who have put up unbelievable numbers the last couple of years. But you got Sadari Morgan now that's going to have a lot more opportunities. You got Elijah Johnson. You got T.J. Wilson, who's an 1,100-yard rusher. He's going to be back in the backfield next year. You're going to have most of that offensive line coming back. We just had 8 new starters on defense. Most all that's coming back. Those were underclassmen. There's a lot of bright future around here, but what I'm saying is, and what you were saying, when they all come together to unite, man, you want to make that run, and I thought we did a heck of a job.
Well, when your enrollment is 606 and the cutoff line's 598, and within a 3-grade swing, you're missing being in a different classification by 8 students.
Right.
And let's just say that it's 50 students next year. Well, or it's 30 students the following year. Unfortunately, there's going to be it always has been.
Right.
It's always been like this in communities. And we're not the only one, but we happen to be probably the example here in this state. I would guess that there can't, I do remember in 97 being told that we were the lowest enrollment group to ever play for a state championship at that time.
At the highest classification.
At the highest classification here in the state. And I can't imagine that anyone that's much smaller than us that's had to play at a top classification like this has had any more success. And it's not an excuse. It's just reality.
We're just throwing the facts out there.
Yeah.
And again, it's what I think the whole conversation started that, man, we in our community are very appreciative.
Yes.
When these come around.
And when we have coaching staffs that put a product out there like we had this year.
And again, it's not a cut at Phoenix City or Thompson or any of those communities, but they are in a different situation than a lot of communities in this state. They expect, based on their size and everything that they have at their disposal, they don't have to put all their eggs like in one basket, feel like they've got pressure to have to get it done that particular year because it might be 4 or 5 years before they have another shot.
Yeah, great.
Because Phoenix City always makes it, shoot.
This year may be one of the best ones.
Right. No
That's
doubt.
a good Thompson football team, and we all think this may be the best version of Phoenix City that we've seen.
I think so.
Yeah.
Up against the top of the hour, stay tuned. 1 hour left here on the Saturday Sports Countdown.
Inspired by the bold bison, Southern Union students blaze new trails every single day. They press forward knowing their SU education will lead them to success. Affordable, accessible, and locally unparalleled. Whether you're transitioning to a university or launching straight into a lucrative career, a degree from SU SDC can help you blaze your path. 3 locations, dedicated faculty and staff, endless possibilities. It's all waiting for you at Southern Union. It's time to venture forward. Register today.
If you're tired of the same old and you're hungry for something really good, then it's time to go to JR's Sports Bar and Grill. JR's has the best fingers and wings around, and their menu is loaded with appetizers, burgers, salads, and so much more. Follow JR's on their Facebook to keep up with their live music events and drink specials. And if after a long day you just want to stay in, remember JR's delivers. Call in your order at 256-329-2328. JR Sports Bar and Grill, 145 Alabama Street in Alexander City.
If you're looking for something to do in the Lake Martin area, you have to go to Liquor by the Lake. Liquor by the Lake is not only the best place to pick up your hard-to-find liquors and craft beers, there's a bar. An awesome bar serving up specialty cocktails and martinis. And the best bushwhacker and creamsicle drinks at Lake Martin. Make plans to come out for happy hour Fridays from 7 to 9 with half-price beer and cocktails. And there's live entertainment on Thursdays. You can even watch the Alabama and Auburn games and Sunday and Monday night football. Liquor by the Lake, located on Highway 49 in the Big Fish Complex near Stillwaters. Open at 1 every day but closed on Wednesday. Come see us.
They say we live in an age of big data, where computers and fancy algorithms are supposed to know you best. But at Country Financial, we know helping you own your future requires, well, something much bigger. Contact your local Country Financial representative and start planning for your future with a personal touch.
When you need an automotive hero, you got to call S&S Discount Tire Pros. With locations in Alexander City and Dayville, we are here to serve you today. From quick services like oil changes and tire rotations to in-depth automotive repairs such as suspensions, brakes, and tune-ups, S&S can take care of all your tire needs. You just have to focus on what's important and love the drive. Call S&S Discount Tire Pros today. We are automotive heroes, and we are here to serve you.
It's truck and SUV season at Glenn Smith Chevrolet GMC in Opelika. If you've been waiting to buy, the time is now to save big. Heavy discounts on Chevrolet and GMC 4x4s, crew cabs, loaded and lifted, gas or diesel, half tons to 1 tons. Loads of new and used models, over 200 on the ground or on the way to Glenn Smith. Don't wait, call now. Get the best deal on your new truck or SUV at Glenn Smith in Opelika and get ready to smile.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Saturday Sports Countdown presented by JR Sports Bar and Grill and Sunshine Heating and Air here in hour number 2. And we'll flip the page and we will talk college football. Is there a game going on today?
Yeah, there's a big one today. You know, you and I, our bread's buttered when it comes to high school football. And this, if our team's still in it in the 3rd and 4th round, we may get a little bit aloof when it comes to Auburn and Alabama. Fortunately for us, we have a daily sports show from 12 to 1 where we talk all Auburn sports. So I feel like I can sit up here with you and at least have a reasonable conversation with you on the game today. But I'll say what you said during the game last night, and I'll bring us into the Iron Bowl conversation. As an Auburn fan, how disgusted are you that 15 years now you go into it just hoping, can we keep this one close? That's the question you have going into a Saturday. Can we keep this one close? And that's where the state of this game is right now.
It is. It's really sad from that standpoint that, you know, because growing up, you and I, and we had this conversation yesterday, we expected to win the game almost every time, and if not, you knew it was going to be close. And even if you had a down year, or if Alabama had a down year, you knew it was going to come down to the end. That's what the Iron Bowl was. And but that was back in the day where 90% of the players came from either Alabama or Georgia. These kids grew up understanding the rivalry. You heard Will Herring this past week talk about it. He cannot put himself in the head of a kid now that has to come in and almost had to take a class on the rivalry. There was another rivalry going on somewhere yesterday, or another coach talking about that in a big rivalry game coming up, and he said, "Look, you know, first thing we need to do is
maybe Oregon and Oregon State.
Maybe it was. Maybe I had to explain what this rivalry meant. That's what you're having to do now to kids. You're having to explain, you know, what's going on, and it's just not the same as it was. And so through all of that, and of course Nick Saban and what he's done at Alabama, expanding that program, has changed this. And Auburn's kind of been through several coaches, and you know, Auburn's been able to, and fortunate to beat Alabama more than anybody in the conference. And Nick Saban has not been successful in Jordan-Hare very often. He's only won 4 times there. He's 4-7 in his career in Jordan-Hare Stadium, which is astonishing because you think about Nick Saban and you see what kind of coach he is. I'm not sure you can go back and find a place that he's got a losing record anywhere.
I can assure you there's nowhere.
So it just tells you that when we've had good football teams, and we've said this, and there's a stat out there that we've gone through, when Auburn's a 9-10 win team, or you go and they're competing for the division.
And we get them at home.
And we get them at home more times than not, you know, that we're able to win the football game. But it's those years in between where, you know, you're going through junk and you're having to rebuild. And, you know, this isn't all – this is not on Hugh Freeze. Let's just cut it like it is. Now, Saturday's performance, that was that coaching staff's responsibility. But he was left with a trail of crap that he had to come in, starting with the end of Gus Malzahn and then going into Brian Harsin. He was left with a disaster. And, you and I talked with Jason Caldwell yesterday, and he said it on the air yesterday. Auburn's not good enough from a talent standpoint to just go out there and go through the motions against anybody right now. And New Mexico State happened to be an 8-win team coming in. This was not Joe Cupcake like you normally schedule. This team had a good year. They had a great quarterback, and we were ill prepared. And so you really saw the discrepancy in talent of what Auburn's playing with when you go and play a New Mexico State team that comes to your place that you pay $1.85 million to get them to come to your house, and you go out there, and yeah, in the past, any other year, you probably could go through the motions and win. But our roster is so down that you get a team like that, they can come in and challenge you. They controlled the line of scrimmage. They made plays when they needed to, and they ended up blowing us out. I mean, no other way to spin it. Now, how much stock do you put into that game? I don't know. How much stock do you put into some of the wins for Auburn? I don't know that either. We know things kind of neutralize themselves, but the better team usually wins Iron Bowl.
Well, I'll say this. A really good team, the home team usually wins the Iron Bowl. And unfortunately for us, it's usually a blowout when we go to Tuscaloosa unless we got a great team. But fortunately for us, we create such a great atmosphere at Jordan-Hare Stadium when we got a quality product out there. You know, this is one I'm going to watch this year. And it's not that I don't think Auburn's mediocre. But I think this is an Alabama squad that's slightly down. Now, they're getting better as the season moves on. If they went on and won the national championship at this point with Nick Saban, I wouldn't be shocked at all. But I am watching this one going, this isn't the version of 3 years ago that Alabama had with a Heisman Trophy quarterback and all of those great talents around him where they're out there. And I don't sense that. There has been a couple of games you and I haven't watched over this 15-year stretch.
No doubt about
you and I went to the golf course together one year and did not watch.
Still never seen
and I flipped it on over there, and you said, please don't.
I said, please. I mean, you know, I didn't want to see it. I knew what it was going to be. And basically, I mean, to go from that just described from 2010 to 2013 is a perfect snapshot of who Auburn is. Really. You go from winning a national championship to an 8-4 team in 11, but the 4 losses were horrific. I mean, like beat down, horrific. But you're 8-4, total collapse in 12, total collapse, worst season in mine in your lifetime in Auburn history, to the point where we go and tee it up to not watch the Iron Bowl.
49-0 at half.
Till this day, I still have not seen a play of that game, and I don't want to see it. There's nothing to see. And then to turn around in less than 10 months and put a product on the field to go to a national title game. That is Auburn to a T. If you don't say that's bipolar, I don't know what you're doing. There's no other program. I'll put money out there. There's no other program in the country that can do what Auburn did from 10 to 13. You sandwiched 2 of the biggest turd years into your program in between 2 national championship teams. I mean, let's be honest. I mean, they didn't win it in 13, but they were there, had a chance at the end, had the lead with 1 minute and 19 seconds to go. It's unbelievable. You can't come up with any rationale behind it.
And since then, it's been the same. You know, you go to 14 where you can't stop anybody. Then you come to 15, you got a quarterback coming in that you're touting as a potential Heisman Trophy winner, and he totally flops out. And then you keep going through the stretch. In 17, you got Jarrett Stidham, who wins a football game at home in the Iron Bowl and beats Georgia and Alabama, and Kerryon Johnson carries the team. And then you lose the SEC champ. Coming back the next year, and you couldn't come up with a more mediocre offense than you got.
Lost to Tennessee, who hadn't won a game in 2 years.
So it is what it is, but at least this is a watchable game. That's where I'll start with this before we go and break it down. It's a game that is interesting. It's not a 49-7 beatdown that you know is coming and how bad's it going to get.
I think Auburn fans yearn for a stretch.
You know what we yearn for?
7 years of consistency.
No, you know what our generation yearns for the 80s.
Well, we yearn for.
I'm telling.
I'm enough past that in my mind. I'm with you. That's what pops up in my mind. If you go, tell me
about Auburn football.
Tell me about Auburn football. That's obviously going to pop up in our mind, no doubt. But I'm past that point. I know those days are in the history books, and football's totally different in 2023 than it was in 1986 and 1987. What I do yearn for is for Auburn to put a consistent 9 to 10 win team on the field, which they can if they have all their crap together, if everybody's pulling in the same direction, if everybody's not trying to figure out who's the king in the room, can put all those assets and resources together and pull in the right direction, the same direction, and you'll get better results as long as you're infighting, as long as you have turmoil. Alabama's proof of it. Look, Alabama's enjoyed the best 15-year run of any fan base, any program. But prior to that, and Luke will be on here in just a minute, he went through it. He was at school up there. I mean, they went through coach after coach after coach. They were trying to find some stability, and when you're trying to search and do all that, man, it's rough. And it's hard to put a consistent product on the field when you have constant turnover in your leadership. And I think the yearning part is for consistency. Man, if you could tell me over the next decade Auburn's going to win 9, 10, 11 games on average a year and going to put themselves in a position.
I wouldn't believe it at this point.
I mean, because it's never happened.
Yeah.
That's why. It's got to happen first. It happened in the 80s. That's why you just went back and said that's what you yearn for, because that takes you back to a time where every single year when Auburn football kicked off, you're like, all right, we're going to compete for the SEC. And we did. We won it 4 years in a row coming down the end. Now, it was back before you had a championship game, but we won it outright or a share from 86 to 89. And, boy, you were putting those teams on the field, and you're like, if somebody beats us, it's going to take a monumental effort, and it's going to be a war. But outside of that, we didn't see many losses, Randy, growing up in Auburn football. And so now it's just the whole mentality has changed to the point, like you just brought this conversation up, of what I said last night. 15 years, even with good teams, you go into it, and most of the time you're 14-point underdog.
Oh, that's on the low end. I'd love to see how much Alabama's been favored over that 15-year stretch. I'd love to see a graph of that.
It'd be nice.
What would be your guess on average? 18 to 20 points? I was
going to say probably around the 14 to 15.
Okay.
Deal.
Please, somebody help.
There's smatterings in there of.
Justin, help us with that, please.
Yeah, pull it up and see if you can find it. So we'll take a break. Stay tuned. More of the Saturday Sports Countdown right after this.
Hi, this is Brian Bice with Bice Motors. With our all-star lineup of Dodge trucks, Jeep, SUVs, and Chrysler cars, we offer the area team dedicated to making your next vehicle purchase a positive experience. Our sales team offers competitive pricing, and we back up all sales with service department second to none. Bice Motors also offers the area's best selection of pre-owned vehicles. Visit Bice Motors at 2133 Cherokee Road in Alexander City.
Guaranteed lowest price. Buy it at Bice Motors.
Planting season is here, and the Potting Shed Garden Center is happy to give you professional landscaping advice when it comes to planting your shrubs and trees. Auburn's best kept secret will have it all this fall. Mums, pansies, pumpkins, and much more. All an array of colors and sizes, along with beautiful pots and containers, indoor plants, and a great selection of other gardening gifts. It's all at the Potting Shed Garden Shop, where natural elements reign supreme. Located on the corner of Moore's Mill and Society Hill Road in Auburn.
Heritage South Credit Union in Alexander City is your community credit union, and they have been for over 80 years. Heritage South Credit Union proudly serves Tallapoosa, Coosa, Lee, Chambers, Randolph, and Chilton counties. From checking to business accounts, to share savings to club accounts, to their kids club and investments. Visit them online at myhscu.com. Heritage South Credit Union, your community credit union for 80 years. Federally insured by NCUA.
Have you stopped by Lifesavers Mission Thrift Store lately? If you haven't, you should. You'll find great pieces for your favorite do-it-yourself project. Lightly used name brand clothing by Free People, North Face, Matilda Jane, Patagonia, and a whole lot more. And while you're there, don't miss the shoes, decorative pieces, classic and new books, and Auburn and Alabama gear that won't cost you a fortune. So stop and shop at Lifesavers Mission Thrift Store today for a unique thrift experience that won't break the budget. Lifesavers Mission Thrift, located on East University behind Zaxby's.
Lake Area Realty specializes in Lake Martin real estate. They can help simplify your next real estate purchase or sell and have helped many home buyers and sellers through the area buy and sell real estate with precision. Lake Area Realty utilizes powerful marketing tools and knowledge of the lake to help you with your next move. Call your local hometown agency today. Lake Area Realty at 256-825-4800. That's 256-825-4800. Lake Area Realty, helping you find your way home.
Hi, this is Andrew McGreer at Dunning Roofing. At Dunning Roofing, we specialize in high-quality, premium roofs. We don't build roofs that just meet code requirements. We build quality roofs with premium materials that significantly exceed our competitors' warranties. We put money on your roof, not in our pockets. If you're looking for a top-quality roof, call Dunning Roofing today for your free quote at 256-307-7601 or visit us at DunningRoofingAL.com for more information.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Sports Blitz Saturday Sports Countdown presented by JR Sports Bar and Grill and Sunshine Heating and Air. Let's go to the phone line. Welcome in our good friend Luke Robinson. And Luke, it's Iron Bowl day, and Alabama with one loss. You look at this game, and it's an Auburn team that's sitting there at 6-5, but it's at Jordan-Hare Stadium. Alabama knows that they've got to continue to win football games and put themselves in a position if they want a playoff spot here. And so a lot still on the line. I mean, it's the Iron Bowl, and I'll get your thoughts on this. I know Auburn had a monumental collapse last week against a team that came in and really kind of shocked them. How much weight do you put on that game?
Maybe a little. I mean, I think it's more indicative of how far away Auburn truly has to go than how indicative they are going to play today. I think it's more about – because New Mexico State didn't fluke into that. I mean, New Mexico State looked better in a lot of areas. Now, I think if those two teams play 10 times, Auburn's probably going to win 6 or 7. But that's the problem, right, is that Auburn should win 10 of 10. And I think New Mexico State caught them at a good time last week before the Iron Bowl. And New Mexico State's a good team. I mean, they're good for what they are. I mean, they're not, they wouldn't finish in the upper tier of the SEC. But, right now Auburn's not finishing in the upper tier of the SEC. So it wasn't the upset people think it was. I mean, the spread makes you feel like it's one of the biggest upsets in history, and I guess mathematically maybe it is. But I think the spread is also determined by, okay, how many people are actually going to bet on New Mexico State? And I bet very few did. So, I think that game is last week now. The one thing that may affect Auburn from that game is when you lose a game like that, especially the margin they lost by, especially the fact, when you think about the quarterback slamming down an Auburn defensive back and all these other things that made it seem like New Mexico State was the tougher team, right? When that happens, I think there was Hugh Freeze said it best, there was kind of a fog over the team for a couple of days. I can attest, having watched Auburn Blitz a few times, there was a fog over the fan base too, which is understandable. I mean, I think when something like that happens, it's very understandable, but it's the coaching staff's job to make sure that it doesn't linger all the way into this game. So I'm willing to bet the team is kind of shaking that off by this morning.
Luke, love your thoughts on Alabama. What in particular, I know that you can easily point to Jalen Milroe and his play on the field, but what do you think's been the best move as of late to get them playing at the level that they are right now?
Well, I mean, obviously I think Milroe is one. Milroe moving with his legs a lot more is two. I think the natural aggressiveness of the defense has also helped a lot. Caleb Downs is having an incredible year as a true freshman. He just secured a Jax NIL deal, by the way, which, good for him. But he's been fabulous this entire year. And then he goes out there on his second part. Some people just have that it factor. And he's one of those guys that's just he's got it. And you don't really know how to explain it when he's not like built differently in terms of his stature or his weight. I mean, he's fast, but he's not the fastest guy on the team. It's just there's something about him. You don't know what it is. He just has a way about him that he usually good things happen when he's on the field. Dallas Turner's had a good year. Chris Braswell's had a good year. I think Alabama's overcome some adversity with the injuries, but maybe the most important thing has been the maturity of the offensive line. They've gotten a lot better. They were giving up sacks and sacks and sacks, and lately they have really been able to get that number down. Now, that may coincide with some of the teams they played maybe don't rush the passer as well. That may be. But it doesn't matter because it's all about confidence. I think if what happens when you're a freshman playing out there, now Caleb Downs is a little different because, like I said, he's just got an it factor, right? But when you are a freshman, and let's say you are Caden Proctor, who is he's got everything you want in an offensive lineman, and he started as a true freshman his first game, and he goes out there and he gets beat up a little bit. He goes out there against Texas, gets beat up a little bit, misses a couple of assignments against South Florida. Yada, yada, yada. But he learns from all this. And instead of getting his head down about it, he sort of put his nose to the grindstone and has gotten better and better. He's still not pretty far from perfect, but he's gotten a lot better. And you can see, okay, I can see his ceiling now. I mean, his arc this year has been sort of like Jalen Milroe's, where, okay, we don't know if this guy's going to make it, and then he doesn't necessarily handle the quote-unquote open competition before the South Florida game very well, allegedly, and he has to sit down for that game, and then he comes back, and instead of pouting, instead of going, I told you so, instead of all those things, what he did was just say, I'm going to go out there and be the best teammate I can be, and he's been phenomenal since then, and what that does is all the fans have gotten behind him now. I mean, because I think everybody would have understood if he pouted, but they wouldn't have liked it. And instead, he went that's the easy route. What he did was go the other way, was like, I'm going to go out there and just work hard and try and win everybody back over. And that's exactly what he's done. And I think it sort of changed the mentality of this team. This Alabama team is a little different than most. I mean, Nick Saban's teams are known to have a very business-like, stoic approach. And this team seems to be going out there and just having more fun.
Luke, there's a lot of factors that go into making this playoff run, but, and I know it's a big game today, but from an Alabama fan standpoint, give me your thoughts on how everything's got to play out for Alabama to make it in.
Yeah, part of me, the smart part of me, my head, I should say, I don't know if that's the smart part of me, but my head says, if Alabama wins out, they're in. You're not keeping an SEC one-loss team out that scheduled a Texas team in the non-conference that beat Georgia, who hadn't lost in 30 games, the two-time defending national champ. You're not keeping that team out. That's got a win over Ole Miss, who's had one of the best years they've ever had. The only losses Ole Miss has, by the way, are to Alabama and Georgia. It has a win over LSU, who should beat Texas A&M today. Finish 9-3. They probably have the Heisman Trophy winning player on their team. They do have a loss to Texas. There's no denying that. There's also no denying you have to factor in the entire season. So I don't know if it's going to come down to Alabama versus Texas, Alabama versus Oregon. That's what I haven't gotten. Everybody's focused on Texas and Alabama and is Alabama's body of work, does that outweigh the loss to Texas at home in September? I look at it another way and go, why on earth are Texas and Alabama behind Oregon? Now, Oregon has a loss. Oregon has no great win. I mean, they beat Oregon State last night. That's their best win on the year. And everybody goes, okay, well, if they beat Washington. And my counter to that is, okay, if Alabama beats Georgia, that beating Georgia is better than beating Washington. I don't think anybody would dispute that. So I just wonder why everybody thinks if Oregon wins out, they're a lock. Meanwhile, if Alabama wins out, they're not. When Oregon scheduled Texas Tech in the non-conference, a team that's just not very good, that Texas hammered last night, by the way, and Alabama scheduled Texas. What it seems like to me you're doing is penalizing a team who schedules more difficult teams, and I feel like that's not what the committee wants. So I think the committee will find a way to get Alabama in there if they win out. Now, I think they would prefer it not be Bama versus Texas, because then you do start a debate. And I mean, I can see both sides of the fence here. But if it's Texas versus Oregon or Bama versus Oregon for a spot, I don't see how Oregon doesn't get hopped over. I just don't get it.
Well, I think it goes.
Their schedule just isn't as good as those other two.
It's not, but I think this is, exactly what you and I talked about a couple of weeks ago. I think this is why you see what we're going to. I think both of us agree that 12's too many, but maybe 6. Some in that area is where it should fall. Maybe 8, wherever it is that you want to go. But I think this is one of the years that there's an argument for that, because I think you've really got, 6, 7 teams out there that really have had great seasons, and you put them all in the playoffs, and it'll be a fun playoff. And again, I think there's arguments on both sides. I think you look at a situation where, Georgia, what if Alabama squeaks out a win against Georgia by 3 points in the SEC championship game? You going to leave Georgia out? They're the 2-time defending national champs, and they finally lose a game in a conference championship by a squeaker. There's a lot of different scenarios that we can look at, and this thing's going to be crazy the way it plays out. Now, I know you're talking about Jaden Daniels and Bo Nix, and Jaden Daniels has put up unreal numbers at LSU, and you look at Bo Nix and what he's put together at Oregon. But if Oregon does win out and they make it to the playoff, now I know the Heisman Trophy will be decided here in the next couple of weeks, but if they beat Washington in that Pac-12 championship game, I'm not sure that won't be enough, Luke, to win the Heisman for Bo Nix.
It could. I would still bank on Jaden Daniels. Here's my reasoning. And I think the passing numbers for Jaden Daniels and Bo Nix are pretty similar, except for the numbers on the whole. But when you look at how you get to those numbers, Bo Nix is sort of a dink and dunk guy. I mean, he's not throwing a ton of deep balls. He's throwing a lot of, receiver screens, and the receivers are doing the work. Now, what Jaden Daniels is doing is throwing dimes that are bombs. And, they both have, I would say, not this. LSU may have a bit of an advantage on receivers. I think Brian Thomas and Malik Neighbors are probably better than the combo for Oregon, but it's not that far off. And I also think that doing it in the SEC means more. But then on top of that, here's the other thing that is the tiebreaker for me, that Jaden Daniels is the second leading rusher in the SEC. He's got over 1,000 yards rushing, and he's got one more game to go. I mean, that's bananas. I mean, we lost our minds when Tim Tebow was doing stuff like that, when Cam Newton was doing stuff like that, when Johnny Manziel was doing stuff like that. And Jaden Daniels' numbers are better than those guys. Now,
and all three of those guys won a national title.
I get it. But I'm saying Johnny Manziel didn't win a national championship. I feel like Jaden Daniels deserves – I would vote for him 100 times out of 100 this year. I mean, I get Bo Nix's numbers. I appreciate it. I appreciate his story. He's got a great story. At the same time, when you talk about playing in the SEC and you talk about what Jaden Daniels is going against every single week, and you talk about how he's getting these numbers, it just blows me away.
Yeah, I mean, they are phenomenal numbers, no doubt about it. And you're right. Yeah, Johnny Manziel didn't win a national title. Tim Tebow and Cam Newton did. I think a lot's going to play out here in the next couple of weeks. I think there's a lot on the line. Hey, there's been a couple, maybe 3 games where Bo Nix pretty much didn't play in a second half. At some point in time, I know a couple of weeks ago, Jaden Daniels played the entire game, had 9 touchdowns, which was just stupid all the way around. Great numbers. But, do you leave a guy in there? At that point, LSU knows they're not playing for anything. Leave him in there and see if they win a Heisman. On the flip side, you're blowing teams out. Bo Nix sits out in the second half. If he had basically a whole nother half of a game that he's sat out numbers in there, his numbers would be even better. So
the flip side to that is, in that game you're talking about, he had 6 touchdown passes in the first half, and I think you could argue, hey, why were they still passing for 6 touchdowns when they were up a gazillion?
Correct.
I mean, it's worked both ways. And I think both of them have padded their stats on occasion. But, I mean, again, for me, I feel like...
Well, you're talking about Bo Nix throwing. Jaden Daniels was still throwing against a no-name team late in the game, too. I mean,
well, I know. I think they both padded their stats.
Well, he threw 9 touchdowns in a game.
Sort of what you do when you're going for a Heisman, right?
Right. But what I'm saying is Jaden Daniels hadn't sat out a half. I think Bo Nix has sat out 2 halves of football this year. So, I mean.
And now, again, I agree with you. I would also say, on the whole, LSU's schedule has been more difficult. That's
there's
my take.
no
They
doubt.
played Florida State in the non-conference back when Florida State was truly Florida State in the first game of the year. And all Oregon did was play Texas Tech. I think there's a big difference there.
No, there's no question. I'm not arguing that. But one thing you can argue is that Bo Nix has sat out a couple of games, basically a half a couple of times. Jaden Daniels against no question there's a different motive right there toward the end for LSU. LSU's not playing for anything. So they're going to try to get Jaden Daniels a Heisman. And Bo Nix, they've got aspirations to try to win a national title too. So
2 more quick things before we let you go, Luke. Quickly, give us an update on Alabama basketball.
They lost yesterday to Ohio State, which I think is, again, may be a good thing because they haven't been playing great defense. They've been kicking butt offensively, and they had a nice game offensively last night. But defensively, that's where Nate Oates has been saying this whole time, hey, we got to get better. And they don't have a rim protector like Charles Bediako, who, decided to go pro. If he had come back, I think this team would be a lot different defensively. But right now, they're still learning their way. And they play Oregon this afternoon. They're a 9-point favorite. I think they can get this victory and get back on the winning track. But there's about to be a stretch for Alabama. It's going to be very difficult. They play a decent Oregon team this afternoon. They play Clemson at home on Tuesday, who is very good and undefeated out of the ACC. And then they got that stretch with Creighton, Purdue, and Arizona. And I don't know that anybody could win all 3 of those games.
Game close today, Luke, or a blowout win for Alabama?
I've been predicting 31-17, which means Alabama doesn't cover, but it's still a 2-score win. I just think this game, the game usually comes down to the better team. I mean, this particular game, everybody talks about all the craziness, and I heard Brett use the term bipolar for Auburn, and I think that's true, but it's weird, too, that, Auburn's been one of the more constant teams in college football since 2014. They've lost 4 games every single year at least. But now, meanwhile, they will mix in some wins over number 1 teams and lose to Tennessee and do stuff like that. They will flip-flop, but their record has been about where it's supposed to be every single year since then, or at least where it was predicted to be, I should say, every single year. And I feel like Alabama is the better team. I feel like they're playing a little better. There's no doubt in my mind Auburn's going to play a lot better than they played last week. I had some people tell me I was crazy that Auburn's going to score 17 because they only scored 10 on New Mexico State. I was like, you can't do this transitive property thing. I mean, Auburn's going to play so much differently today. But in the end, I think Alabama's got more talent and the better team, and I think that will take over. It will be one of those games where I feel like Alabama is sort of at arm's length most of the game, but there's always a chance Auburn could get, within a score or whatever, but maybe Will Reichert hits a late field goal to put it out of reach or something.
Well, Luke, we appreciate it, buddy, and we'll hit you up next week.
All right, guys, have a good one.
Thanks so much, and that'll take us to the next break, and we'll come back. We'll finish it out with a couple segments. Stay tuned. More Saturday Sports Countdown right after this.
Have you met your local Farmers Insurance agent, Patrick Holina? He proudly serves Tallapoosa County and Alexander City families and businesses and is ready to review your existing policies or provide a no-obligation quote today. Call the Holina Agency at 256-234-0037 or stop in today at 704 Commerce Drive to get smarter about your insurance. Again, that's the Holina Agency, 256-234-0037.
We are farmers. Bum, ba-dum, bum, 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 bum.
Underwritten by Farmers Truck Fire Insurance Exchanges and Affiliates. Products not available in every state.
At C&T Electric, our clients are our priority. For the safety and security of your family and home, our technicians are professionally trained, drug tested, background checked, and wear uniforms with name tags. We're proud to have served the Elk City, Dadeville, and Lake Martin areas for the past 10 years. Give us a call at 256-234-0007 for all your electrical service and repair needs, or visit us on the web at www.cntelectricllc.com and spell out the word "and."
The food at Oscar's Cafe makes your mouth water. At Oscar's, enjoy great tasting catfish, or maybe you're just in the mood for one of Oscar's fresh salads. Even kids know the place for a fine meal is Oscar's with a great kids menu. Oscar's also has great tasting burgers full of backyard flavor. So come on out to Oscar's Cafe for great food and homegrown hospitality. We're located on Highway 49 South in Dadeville, just before the Blue Creek Bridge. And remember, it's all fun and games till there's only one cheese ball left.
Life is a sequence of little successes. The story of my Southern Union success began the day I walked on campus, making new friends, mastering a new skill, reaching a personal goal, the encore performance, the first date, the internship, and now, soon, the dream job. That's the story of my Southern Union success. Register for classes and get ready to watch your Southern Union story come to life.
The Eric McKinley team at Mortgage Pro continues to excel in making sure our clients have a smooth and pleasant experience with home financing needs. Families are struggling to make ends meet due to price increases and high interest rates on credit cards. Monthly debt can cripple a family from enjoying the special times in life. Property values are holding strong, and now is the time to take advantage of the equity in your home, saving hundreds of dollars a month. No money out of pocket and no payment until January 2024. Call the Eric McKinley team at Mortgage Pro today.
Lake Area Realty specializes in Lake Martin real estate. They can help simplify your next real estate purchase or sell and have helped many home buyers and sellers through the area buy and sell real estate with precision. Lake Area Realty utilizes powerful marketing tools and knowledge of the lake to help you with your next move. Call your local hometown agency today, Lake Area Realty, at 256-825-4800. That's 256-825-4800. Lake Area Realty, helping you find your way home.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Saturday Sports Countdown presented by JR's Sports Bar and Grill and Sunshine Heating and Air. A couple segments left in today's show, and Iron Bowl, and we were talking about Nick Saban since he's been at Alabama and looking at betting lines, and I think what is today 14 for Alabama. Just hadn't been. Basically,
well, I knew that it was bad,
same atmosphere.
But until you see it actually listed, and thanks to Justin Clayton, our good friend out there, for helping us go back through these. But in 16 meetings between Auburn and Alabama since Nick Saban arrived in Tuscaloosa, Auburn's never been favored in the football game, and only 4 times out of that 16 has Alabama been favored by less than 10 points.
Right.
So 12 out of the 16 times Alabama's been favored by double digits. And I guess one other thing that's really eye-catching, because these guys over in Vegas don't make a decision on these lines based off of what they feel. There is no feel of what's going on in the program. This is what they're hoping that you'll bet on, and they got to throw a number out there to get you interested in it. So I think that it is worthy of going through and looking at it. But looking and seeing where we are today, what happened during that Brian Harsin and the end of Gus Malzahn era is disgusting. 2020, Alabama's favored by 25. Now, we played over our head in some of these, but still, this is what was expected going into the ball game. But Alabama favored by 25 in 2020, 20.5 points in 2021, 26.5 points last year, and another couple of touchdowns today. It's what you said last night. You're 15, 16 years into something where your whole goal is, can we keep this thing respectable?
It's ridiculous. I mean, it really is. That you, and it goes back to what I said about two segments ago. Until you decide you're going to get on the same. Look, Nick Saban, and my dad said this. He said, "There's one boss in Tuscaloosa. There's one guy. Ain't nobody else got a say in anything. There is no debate. There is no I got to vote." And until you get that mentality, Alabama struggled. Until Nick Saban rolled into town 07, he had to clean up a bunch of crap, by the way. Remember that? And see what he had to deal with, but he got to work recruiting. And now, again, he was able to go out and maneuver and basically lay it on the line, say, I'm going to go out and get every dadgum good player that I can go get, and we're going to build this program. But you saw the team he was left in 07. And he had to navigate that crap. Jawan Simpson and DJ Hall and those guys, they were good players, but they were cancers on the team. and there was no unity, and Nick Saban had to change the culture. And up until then, it was turmoil. It was back and forth. Can't get on the same page. You got to get sustained leadership. You got to get the right guy in there. I don't know if Hugh Freeze is the right guy. We want to hope. But Randy, John Cohen, starts with him, starts with the president. All of those guys have to be on the same page. We haven't seen that in 15 years.
Well, we're cheering them on. I mean, that's all I can say is that at a certain point, I would like to not go into the game thinking, can we play well enough to keep this within two scores?
But why is it that way is what I'm saying. Why is it that way? Because it has been turmoil. We've had highs. We've had a few smatterings of highs. But we can't sustain that because you got too many egos in the room wanting to control why you're so good. And then it falls back off again. Until you get a boss in there that runs the program and tells you this is how we're going to do it moving forward, you're going to keep getting this.
Huge day from a recruiting standpoint for Auburn. A lot of visitors in, of course, for Iron Bowl. Several of these are wavering on their commitment to other programs, namely Cam Coleman over at Phoenix City, who is a dynamic difference maker. He's currently committed to Texas A&M, but he's looking all over. And sure, we would love to close the gap. If you watch this past weekend, the one thing that really stands out to you is Peyton Thorne's your quarterback, yes. And is he serviceable? Yes, I think he's serviceable. But you got to be able to throw the football up and have someone go make a play for you. And right now, Auburn really doesn't have that consistently in the receiving core. And we got some great commits already. You and I witnessed Malcolm Simmons last night. He's going to be a great one. But there's a lot of others that you would like to close out with, and I'll start with him, Brett. Cam Coleman would be a big get, but there's a lot of other visitors here on campus. And I hope that we, again, back to your statement last night, I hope we play well enough to not scare any of them off.
Yeah, I don't know how much. I mean, and it definitely plays into it, but in the moment, in the now, I said that after the New Mexico State loss. I mean, we as fans and media want to build that up into go, oh, man, that was a bad time for Cam Coleman was back on campus on Monday talking to Hugh Freeze and volunteer. He's been, like Jason Caldwell said, been on campus 4 times in the last 11 days. New Mexico State, that's not what's work. He don't care about that result. Now, there's a lot of other factors that go into a recruit making a decision. NIL is one of them. That's a main one. Really, maybe the forefront of why guys. Now, they want to be able to compete. They don't want to go to a junk program. So you got to convince a guy, hey, you can come change the dynamic here. You can help us get us back to where we need to be. But you're right. You got to start landing top 10, top 5 recruiting classes if you're ever going to vault yourself back up there. Now, you don't want to go out there and get beat 49-7 because that would scare some of those guys off and make them second guess possibly wanting to go into a program like that. But you go in there and you play it close and you play tough and you show that, hey, look, man, we didn't put the focus on what we needed to last week. We got burned by it, but we're going to rebound. But I've got to have you, and I got to have you, and I got to have you to come in to help us get this program back. I mean, Auburn's got KJ Bolden back today. I mean, I know there's a lot of people feel like, he made that commitment to Florida State, but he's still up for grabs. A lot of these guys have relationships, Randy. Auburn's got plenty on the table there. They can close this class out really strong.
Yeah, and going to need them because that is what Nick Saban did. Everyone points back to a 7-6 mark in his first year, but he had the #1 recruiting class and one of the best ones ever right after that first main recruiting class. And currently Auburn, I think, sitting at 16. It's a good class, got a lot of potential sitting out there if they can close the deal on some of these. But how do you swing things? You got to figure out how to compete with the Georgias and Alabamas of the world and recruit at a top 5 level if you want to be at Auburn, where you got to play those 2 juggernauts every year.
Bottom line, it starts there. I mean, coaching goes into it, no doubt. But if you don't have the horses out there on your side, you're not going to compete. You're going to be continuing to sit there like every other program. And again, those numbers, the point spread looks bad. Yeah, you haven't been favored in 16 years. But I don't know who has been against Alabama in this conference, save a rarity of LSU maybe and a rarity of Georgia of late. Because Alabama didn't play Georgia. But Georgia hadn't been much until Kirby Smart got there. So save that. I don't know who's been favored over Nick Saban and Alabama.
Probably no one.
There's teams, Randy, that haven't beaten Nick Saban since he's been in the conference. Arkansas, namely one. Tennessee, very rare last year. I think was the first time.
Mississippi State.
Mississippi State. I mean, I can keep going down the list. And so, yeah, we have seen, and Alabama fans have seen, a run like we'll never see again. You're not going to see it. College football's changed. The landscape's changed. I mean, you look at Dabo Swinney and what he's done at Clemson, and you got fans over there that are just beyond – I mean, it's just stupid. I don't know any other way to say it. That guy has brought Clemson to a level of relevancy that we never thought we'd see. And they're wanting to say, he's lost it. Boy, he ain't got it. He can't get it done anymore. And they have tailed off a little bit. But, man, he kept Clemson up there for 5 years in the mix, making the playoff, winning national championships, recruiting at a high level. Did Clemson ever scare you prior to Dabo Swinney in the last 5 to 7 years?
Well, we used to call it Clemsoning.
Well, it's what we used to talk about.
Yeah.
They'd find a way to Clemson it. They'd find a way to blow it. So just how quickly you turn things around. And, he kind of issued an ultimatum. He said, you know what? Y'all want me around here anymore? I'll go find a place to go. Texas A&M would probably take a shot at Dabo Swinney. I would think so. Does Lane Kiffin? Y'all got to remember, that Texas A&M job is still open. And after yesterday with Arkansas, I know they came out last week and said, well, we're sticking with Sam Pittman. Are you still sticking with Sam Pittman after that?
There's no way. There's no way the fan base will allow it, unless you just don't care.
The stands were half empty.
Half?
Giving up.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just over. I mean, Missouri stands looked like that 3 years ago. Seriously, I remember watching a Missouri game. It may have been the Arkansas game. And I'm telling you, you could stretch out in a whole section and how fast you can turn it. Eli Drinkwitz, Missouri, what they've done this year has been remarkable. But, man, Arkansas, they got to make a decision if that's what they want to stick with. Up against the final break of the show. Stay tuned. One final segment right after this.
Hey, it's Brett Pritchard, and I'm here to tell you all about Sims Foods, who you know better as Wickles Pickles. Wickles Pickles, that 90-year-old recipe, wickedly delicious. Relish, okra, and pickles. From Saturday sandwiches, tailgate snacks, to holiday dinners with your family and friends. From their family to yours, Wickles Pickles, those wickedly delicious pickles.
Wickles Pickles, wickedly delicious pickles.
76% of nurses say they went into the profession because they wanted to help patients. No matter the reason you decided to become a nurse, you have all the tools needed to advance your degree at Jacksonville State University. Our Master's in Nursing program is now offered fully online and can be completed in less than 2 years. You can customize a flexible course schedule so you can receive your advanced education degree all while working on the front line. JSU Nursing, your opportunity to advance your career and serve your community.
This fall, nobody beats Martin's Sports Pub for Lake Martin's best sports experience. Martin's all-star lineup of cold beverages and pub fare food can't be beat, with the region's best wings, burgers, and signature dishes. At Martin's, you always have the best seat in the house for all college and NFL on our multiple 360-view TV and huge projection screen with surround sound. See our pigskin scoreboard weekly to win big money and let our all-pro teams serve it all to you at the place we all win. Martin's, Highway 34, Dadeville.
At Russell Medical, we're proud of our exceptional nurses, like Nurse Brandy Worthy. Brandy represents the selfless, compassionate clinical leader patients expect and coworkers admire. Brandy was recently honored with the Nightingale Award for Nursing Excellence for her high standards, sound judgment, and caring manner. Her passion for her profession inspires us all.
Being a nurse is not just what you do, it's who you are. I'm proud to be a part of the nursing team at Russell Medical. We are the link between all hospital services, providing you with exceptional, personalized care.
If you're tired of the same old, and you're hungry for something really good, then it's time to go to JR's Sports Bar and Grill. JR's has the best fingers and wings around, and their menu is loaded with appetizers, burgers, salads, and so much more. Follow JR's on their Facebook to keep up with their live music events and drink specials. And if after a long day you just want to stay in, remember JR's delivers. Call in your order at 256-329-2328. JR Sports Bar and Grill, 145 Alabama Street in Alexander City.
Main Street Family Urgent Care. Main
Street Family Care offers a wide array of services that allows them to treat many conditions, and they also offer primary care. In addition to these services, they also offer DOT physical exams, lab testing, sports physicals, and vaccines. They accept most major insurance plans, including Medicaid. Main Street Family Care, open 7 days a week.
Main Street Family Urgent Care. Heal better, feel better fast.
Welcome back, everyone. Final segment of the show here. Been a great show. Appreciate all of you out there tuning in. We had a few comments early, in the program about high school, and great season for Benjamin Russell. Tough to see it end ever, but a good run, a solid season. 10-win season, a region championship.
You gonna let me jump in right there?
Sure, go ahead.
I said it to close out the program last night, and I wanted to reiterate it here this morning. There are some programs out there like Thompson that's now got 4 state titles, and Central Phoenix City that go deep in the playoffs year in and year out. It's not that way here. Never has been that way here. And people. Generally, the more years that go on, all of us that played tend to get a little better, and the teams that we were on were better. And unfortunately, the reality is not that. Until your junior year in high school, we'd never been to the third round of the playoffs.
That's right.
And that was in '93. And we never got back to the third round of the playoffs while I was there. And then the first time I went to a state championship game was in '97. So my point is, everybody tends to think that you're a lot better than you actually were. And if you have a program that goes 10-3 and makes it to the third round of the playoffs in the community that we're sitting in right now, that hadn't happened often. That's maybe, 5 or 6 teams in the history of the school that's been as far as they have.
Right, and you think about the wins for this program, one of the top 10 winningest programs in the state of Alabama history, and we do a lot more winning around here than we do losing, and it tells you how tough it is. You look at Phoenix City. We just spent a majority of our high school segment talking about how good Phoenix City's been. 2 state championships.
Yeah, one of them was that 93.
One of them was that 93 season. You talking about a drought. Again, they have high expectations, but the other one was 5 years ago against this Thompson team.
And we lost 7-0 to them in that 93
So,
year.
you know what? You cherish them. It doesn't matter. I mean, you look at Auburn High School, they still
haven't gotten one. Opelika still hasn't gotten
one.
Yeah.
There are teams in this state that have been very, very close, and they have not been able to get over the hump. And so when you are able to do that, there's some teams out there that don't have a fraction of the region championships that we have that are up there on that.
I think that's the reason that Booker T. Washington's such a tremendous story.
It's a great story.
They never made it past the first round, and now they're in the semis. And they'll never forget this. This is a program that has got an SEC caliber player in Joe Phillips that's playing linebacker, and he'll play an edge maybe at Auburn, and he's just a great player. But they've obviously got other pieces around him because that guy ain't walking out there in the classification he's in, winning football games himself.
I'm proud of what Hugh Freeze is doing. You just mentioned Joe Phillips, Auburn. Malik Blockton last night, Auburn. Malcolm Simmons, Auburn. Auburn's getting back to his roots. You got to win this state. Alabama has built a brand, and they can go get players everywhere. And Auburn's been able to go and get players certain places from time to time. But Auburn's bread and butter is in this rivalry and in the Southeast. And Auburn's got to win the state of Alabama as much as they can. And getting players that understand and grow up in the state and understand the significance is going to get Auburn back.
All those players are an hour away.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
And we weren't even talking to them, for the last couple of years. I mean, we weren't in the mix for any. DeMarcus Riddick, add DeMarcus Riddick to the mix. Brian Harsin didn't talk to Joe Phillips or DeMarcus Riddick. You got Quay Russaw and James Smith down there at Alabama who've played very small amounts of time this year. I think Quay Russaw's got 2 tackles and James Smith's got 1. Now, they ain't been on the field, and they're freshmen. They're probably going to work their way up and be really good players. But they could probably have started this year at Auburn. Didn't recruit them like you should have recruited them from being right down the road in Montgomery. And they made like 4 or 5 trips to Auburn's campus. You could tell there was interest. Man, you can't take 2 years off in recruiting. It's just so devastating.
It's how It's how impactful decisions that you make for the ones that you put in leadership roles can just continue to years later.
Or can take you to the highest of heights.
Which is Alabama right now.
And can take you to the depths of you-know-where.
And the Brian Harson's got us in a depth
that's the depth.
Everyone out there needs to tap the brakes and give Hugh Freeze plenty of time to try to clean this nightmare up.
Don't get all over. Look, it sucked to lose to New Mexico State, but I'm sure Alabama, and I hate to compare that, but when they lost to Northern Illinois and they lost to, Louisiana Monroe, and when LSU lost to UAB, and, all these teams that have had hiccups and teams have gotten up and bitten them in the rear end, it sucks in the moment. You gotta rebound from that. And all of those teams I just talked about have, and we've rebounded. Heck, we almost lost to Jacksonville State a few years ago. We almost lost to Utah State.
I heard this stat, and so I'd like to know it. And I know we're up against the close of the program, but Lane Kiffin said, Alabama's got 25 5-stars and we got 1.
Yeah.
And until you win that, I'd like to know.
I think he said that about Georgia.
Was it Georgia?
Yeah, Georgia after the.
I'd like to know the discrepancy on that field today.
Oh, big time. Not roster's not even close. Not even close. So, I put that in perspective. That's going to wrap it up for the Saturday Sports Countdown. Again, thanks to all of you for joining us. Hope you had a great Thanksgiving, and happy Iron Bowl to you out there today. For Randy, I'm Brett saying we've enjoyed it. We hope you have. See you next time.